Good morning, and welcome to Redeemer Lutheran Church. I'm Pastor Gary Lodeholt. Sometimes we might wonder about life in Bible times and how it compares to our lives now. When it comes to food, there are many things we eat nowadays that they simply didn't have in ancient Bible times. For example, Moses and Aaron likely never enjoyed Taco Tuesday or sat down for a hamburger or a pizza. And some of the things they ate, like we eat today, weren't processed the same, and so the outcome was a bit different. Here I'm thinking about things like wheat and bread. While they certainly ate bread, it was probably more coarse than the bread we enjoy today. On the other hand, their bread was baked fresh every day. This week, however, rather than to focus on some of the differences in their foods and ours, I'd like to do the opposite and look at some things they ate that haven't changed much despite the passing centuries. And the truth is that we enjoy these foods every bit as much as they did. So let your mouth water in anticipation as we explore fruits of the Bible. Now, before we go further, I need to let you know that fruit in the Bible is talked about in several ways. Jesus and many other Bible writers talk about how faith bears fruit. And by that, they mean you can see the good a faithful person does. There's also the fruit of the Spirit, which is a way St. Paul talks about God's Spirit bearing fruit or good things in a person. There are similar references to the fruit of one's labors, and we are told to be fruitful and multiply. The idea of fruit this way is different from what we will talk about this week. We're going to look at some particular fruits that they ate in those days and a few Bible references that mention them. Let's start with the one that may be the most significant in the life of ancient Israel, the grape. Along with the olive and fig trees, the grapevine is the most important plant of the Palestine. Vineyards and grapes are so important that they become symbols for the fruit of the whole land. Often in biblical times, many individuals had no other financial resources other than their vineyards. One example of that in the Bible is found in 2 Kings, when a man named Naboth refuses to sell his vineyard to King Ahab. Ahab was wicked and had many vineyards, but wanted Naboth's. And when he didn't get it, he went to his bed and pouted. His wife Jezebel had Naboth killed, and Ahab got the vineyard he wanted. However, Elijah exposed the plot. But you see, Naboth refused to sell because he felt that the vineyard was given to him by God, and its ongoing ownership meant lifelong income, not just a one-time payday. Grapes were so important in that day, in fact, that in Isaiah 5, it even tells us how to pick a good location for a vineyard, how to prepare the ground, how to plant the vine, and how to harvest the grapes. Throughout the Old Testament, vines and vineyards were often used as a symbol for Israel, having been brought out of the land of Egypt and planted by God in the Promised Land. Individuals, likewise, could be compared to a vine, spreading evil or spreading good. Having an abundance of grapes or a good grapevine was seen as a sign of blessing from God. In fact, in Amos, the prediction is that God's blessings on God's people will be so abundant that those who tread grapes will be more numerous than those who plant seeds. In the New Testament, Jesus often mentions grapes and vineyards in his parables. Some of those stories talk about wicked tenants, and another one mentions those who worked all day receiving the same salary as those who worked only 1 hour. But even more significantly, Jesus often compares himself as the true vine and his Father as the vine dresser. Connected to the vine, we become the fruit of God's activity in the world. Perhaps one of the most important aspects of the grape in Israel was that it was used for wine. Now, their wine was a little different from ours. Theirs might be compared more to vinegar. However, in those days, finding and keeping good water was difficult, and this wine was something that could be stored and used over long periods, so it was a staple for them. The words grape, vine, vineyard, and vineyard are used about 220 times in the Bible, and that number might hint at its importance. Of course, it was at the Last Supper when Jesus uses the fruit of the vine to say, "This is my blood given and shed for you." In that way, for us, perhaps the grape is a sign of God's grace. Thanks for watching, and remember to let this day belong to God.